everybody, it's Sophie and Marco, and we are here to review a movie and talk about a new week we are doing. And we are Sophie and Marco Dish on the Movies, and we are the only movie review channel that reviews movies in terms of food. And we are finally doing a Vincent Price week, where we review one of his movies representing the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So that will be a total of 5 movies. He starred in over 100 movies, a number of TV shows and commercials. Quite a lucrative career that spanned decades. In several of his movies, he plays a perfect, charming sociopath who likes to destroy people and make them suffer through the process. Just a brief bio of him. He was born in 1910 in St. Louis, Missouri, and died in 1993 in LA. Not only did he star in over 100 movies, he wrote a book, including a recipe book called A Treasury of Great Recipes. He was also an art aficionado, doing sales videos for Sears and Roebuck to help them sell paintings. His dad owned the National Candy Company, and his grandpa invented a cream of tartar-based baking powder. He received a bachelor's degree at Yale in 1933, spent 1 year as a teacher, soon realizing he wanted and needed more education. In 1934, he enrolled at the University of London to pursue a master's degree in fine arts, or MFA. But there, he was bitten by the love for acting bug, and life as an actor began its course. Our first movie is Shock, S-H-O-C-K, starring Vincent Price, of course, as Dr. Richard Cross, Lynn Bari as Nurse Elaine, who is Dr. Cross's paramour, or girlfriend, and works as a nurse at his psychiatric facility. Frank Lattimore as Lieutenant Paul Stewart, and Lieutenant, he's a military person, a soldier, not a police person, and Annabelle Shaw as Mrs. Janet Stewart. These are the main characters who have most of the lines, so that's why I haven't mentioned anybody else.
How were you able to tell that the boyfriend is in the military?
He's not. He's her husband.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yes, he wears a uniform during the entire movie.
Apparently he wears a military uniform all day and night. He probably sleeps in it.
Yeah, maybe.
It smells really bad. He doesn't even take a shower, and it's because this is one of the telltale signs it's a 40s movie.
I don't know about that, but he looked pretty.
Have you ever heard of someone coming back from the war, and then they just wear their uniform for the rest of their life?
I don't know. Maybe he had PTSD. He was well, let me just continue.
Doesn't seem like it.
Janet Stewart is the wife of Lieutenant Paul Stewart, who was a prisoner of war and had just been released. They were supposed to meet at a hotel, but he was late. Janet became upset because he didn't show up right away. What she didn't know is that his plane had engine trouble and he was delayed. It's the middle of the night and she can't sleep, and here's an argument. Out the window, she sees a nicely dressed man and woman arguing, and then the man hits her and she falls. It's so upsetting to her that she withdraws into a kind of shock where she can't speak but only stare. Okay, I know this is a long time ago, but he hit her once. At least that's what I remember.
Just once. And it's on the back of her head. I don't even think that she screams. I think that he just comes up behind her, clubs her, and then she falls down and dies. And that's what you call, I don't know what you'd call it actually, but if it was nowadays, then they would do a lot more than that. I mean, there wasn't even any noise for the clubbing. Like, he literally hits her, there's like a little tiny noise, maybe, or there's not even a noise. But in reality, you'd hear a really loud crack of the skull. Because if he killed her, that would crack her skull right open. And we don't even get to hear that because it's the 40s.
Well, what did he hit her with, the lamp?
No, a candlestick.
Oh, candlestick, that's right. Okay. Well, I know it's bad, but I agree with Marco. I didn't know I thought he maybe hit her and she just didn't want to get up or she passed out. But I just, it didn't seem like it was anything that would make her die. So that was weird and I didn't like that. Right off the bat, I didn't like that. Well, she did end up dying, and the woman who was hit. But for that to throw her into that to throw this Janet person into a zombie freak out was, I don't know, I just thought it was dumb.
Goofy.
Because that's what I mean. I didn't like the way they portrayed women back then, a lot of them, as they're so weak.
No.
They're just totally
I
weak.
disagree.
Well, I just didn't like that, where she just, and she
Because-
stared like she was,
Really?
she'd never seen anybody hit somebody before.
What about Lifeboat? Were the women in that movie portrayed
No,
that way?
I'm saying most of them.
I disagree.
Where they scream and that. Well, she was weak,
They
okay?
were portrayed a lot better back then than they are nowadays, in my opinion.
Okay, well, in this movie, I don't like, and I think that they did it on purpose because she really didn't have that big of a part. Most of the time, she was either staring into space, or she was in bed, and then and having a horrified look on her face. And it wasn't until the very end where she actually had a few lines, and I mean, it was actually really good acting, but it was just a tiny little bit. It was like having a chocolate chip and a cookie, just eating the chocolate chip. That's what it was like. So anyway, Lieutenant Stewart finally arrives the next morning, finds her, and she is sent to a psychiatric facility run by none other than Dr. Cross, who is a psychiatrist who runs a psychiatric facility, and it just happens to be he's the one who was staying across the way from her and the one who killed his wife. At first, Dr. Cross is treating her like he would any other patient. He doesn't know who she is, but when he finds out where she was staying, he figures out that she witnessed him killing his wife. He and his girlfriend both start Nurse Elaine, freak out, and begin a devious plan of trying to get Mrs. Stewart to doubt herself, to gaslight her, in other words, and finally try to kill her using insulin shock treatments. However, don't count out Lieutenant Stewart, who wants a second opinion about her treatment and asks questions about what is going on and remains vigilant. And the reason why I emphasize this so much, because back then, everything the doctor said was gospel and nobody ever questioned them. And for him to want a second opinion and question him on top of that was very unusual.
You could also say that the movie, if it was better made, that it could be a commentary on how doctors don't always know best, and how a lot of the times they'll do things and they're actually making the patients worse, and then there's no question to it because they're doctors. And I think that would have been a lot more horrific and a lot better of a horror movie than the plot that we get here, where it's a lot more about romance, in my opinion. Like, if this movie, it's more of, I wouldn't say it's a horror movie. I would say it's like a very light romantic thriller.
Well, all in all, it's a very simple story. And Vincent Price and this was done probably in the late 30s, but it premiered in 1940. It's a very simple story, and Vincent Price shows all of his charming, maniacal, and sadistic tendencies, and and then withdrawing from the situation and acting regretful too. And what do you want to say about it, Marco? Because I think you have a little bit more to say about it.
Well, it was funny because when I started watching the movie, the I didn't even really was paying attention to the movie. I was paying attention to the fact that the movie strongly resembled a Tales from the Crypt episode. And I know this because I've seen this episode a lot of times. It's probably one of my favorite episodes out of the ones that I've seen, and it's basically the same premise. And and then what we discovered was really that that episode was a remake of this movie. And it was okay for them to do that because the movie is public domain, and public domain movies, you can do anything you want with them.
Mm.
You could bootleg a copy and release it yourself, and you couldn't get sued for it. And it's typically a sign of lower quality. And unfortunately, this movie is bland. It shouldn't have been called Shock. It should have just been called Snooze. Because, I mean, when I think of this movie, looking back, like, it's hard to tell. Like, I think that there are a couple of cool scenes. Like, I like when they're doing the insulin shock treatment because it's kind of I mean, I don't know if they do that anymore.
I didn't know they did it at all. Was I was
So
shocked they use insulin to do anything but help diabetics.
so that was interesting to see. And then I think that Vincent Price did a good job because he really didn't have any redeeming quality to him. I mean, so what? He changes his mind at the end. He wanted to kill her, but he just couldn't kill her because blah blah blah. I mean, he's still like really evil. And then the nurse, she's probably the worst part of the movie. She's very annoying. She's not likable. The actress, I mean, like she has no charm to her, and she has no chemistry with Vincent Price. And so it's really hard to believe that he would kill his own wife to
Well,
be with her.
I don't think it was a. I think in today's world it would have been like a manslaughter. I don't think he intentionally tried to kill her.
You don't think that
But he did at the end
you-
when he killed the nurse. Sorry.
you don't think that he intentionally planned that and went and came up behind her and bashed her over the head with a candlestick? You would consider that
No.
accidental?
I don't know. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
But I thought at the
think so.
end, when he did what he did at the end, was a lot more intentional because it was really quick.
Well, it was quick because it's the 40s and you're not really showing reality.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he comes up to her and he has this, he comes up to her from like 10 feet away or like 5 feet away, and he's got his hands out, and you can tell he's gonna strangle you, and like you're just gonna stand there. And he slowly walks up to her and then puts his hands on her neck and takes her off camera, and it's so childish.
I think he watched Bela Lugosi or something. The way he approached the person.
Bela Lugosi did it a lot better.
Yeah.
But Vincent Price, he does a good job. As I said in my other video from recently, he does himself very well. Like when you watch a Vincent Price movie, you're gonna see Vincent Price do Vincent Price, and that's about it. I mean, this movie, in my opinion, they should have switched the actresses playing the nurse and then the main girl, because the main girl was a lot more likable, and I would have liked to have seen her act more, and then you can have the nurse woman be the one rolling around in her bed.
Yeah.
So
Well, I gave it a scoop of vanilla ice cream because it was. Right now, I just don't like vanilla ice cream. It tastes like nothing, and it's just awful. And it's not that I thought the movie was really, it was just kind of there, especially after I saw the remake of it with Richard Thomas. And I don't know the girl's name. She's been in a lot of movies and shows since then.
I've never seen her before.
I have, and anyway, I thought it was a really good movie, and I mean TV show, and they did it so much better. I think the thing I
Yeah.
liked about the movie that I give him
The episode?
the movie Shock
Oh, okay.
would be, well, Vincent Price. I thought he displayed several different acting modes. He's well anyway, he's played the maniacal and then quiet and then charming, like I said at the very beginning. He did all that. But the person I really liked in the movie was the husband. I thought he was the hero of the story because he stood up for his wife. He asked questions, got a second opinion, and was instrumental in saving her life by going to get the other doctor, but also Vincent Price. Of course, he changed his mind and stepped in to help her because they had given her, what did they do? They gave her the injection, then they had to give her something else to offset the injection.
Yeah.
And although the role of the husband was minimal in comparison, his heroism for me stood out in the movie, almost at least as equal to Vincent Price, and who was actually, the star of the show. So that's what I gave. What'd you give it, Marco?
Ugh. I give this movie, to be completely honest, I give this movie a bland, unseasoned piece of chicken. Have you ever had a chicken breast and it's
Yeah.
just a plain chicken breast with nothing on it? There's no seasoning, there's no crispy skin, there's nothing but that bland breast. And this movie is nothing but a bland breast. And then I would say the TV show episode is like a full course chicken dinner, in my opinion. And so it's clear that you should check out the TV show episode. I believe it's either a mute witness to murder or a mute witness for murder.
It stars Richard Thomas. He
Yeah.
plays Dr. Cross. Well, no, he has a different
he
name.
plays Dr. Trask.
Yeah, they have different names. They don't have the same names.
So I would highly recommend that because he does the villain role a lot better than Vincent Price too.
Yeah,
And
he's
so
very maniacal.
it's unfortunate that you chose a movie where Vincent Price is trash compared to the TV show remake.
Well, I think he's developing his what would you call it? His persona as a weirdo, bad guy, maniacal. And Richard Thomas is the guy who played John Boy in the Waltons, and he'd spent years being the perfect. And so it probably was a lot of fun for him to do this because it was totally the opposite of what he usually played on TV. Totally the opposite, the exact opposite. So he
Well-
probably had a good time doing it. He probably like, oh wow, I get to play somebody bad and evil.
Just to show you how much better the TV show episode is, when he kills his wife, he hits her over the head with a lamp once, and she falls down, and she's not dead. And so she's getting back up and she's threatening him, and so he has to come back over again and finish the job by choking her to death. And it takes a long time for it to happen. And so, just right there, I mean, they already saw that stupid, childish 1940s crap, and they improved on it so much in that episode.
Well, at least you couldn't question the fact that how could she die when the person only hit her once? In this show, the remake, you definitely understood why she died. It was a lot more realistic. So that's really what that's all about. So
overall, I wouldn't recommend this movie. It's a paper thin plot, paper thin characters, The only reason to watch this movie would be if you're a Vincent Price uber fan, and you
Yeah.
just gotta see every Vincent Price movie.
Okay, well, we have to stop now, and our next movie that we're going to do is The House of Wax, and it came out in the 50s.
We've both
So-
seen it before, right?
Right. I saw it a long time ago, though. Really long time ago. I don't really remember everything about it.
I fell asleep watching it.
Yeah. So, so we did a movie from the 40s. Well, 1940s. So they probably did it in the late 30s because they don't do them in 2 seconds. And then the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. One movie from each decade. Okay. So
Okay.
I hope you subscribe and comment below.
You
Thank-
you gotta like the video too.
Well, whatever.
Don't you like videos?
Me?
I hope you do. Aren't you supporting the people that you watch by liking their videos?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Are you just freeloading?
Oh, yeah. I gotta go. I have to make breakfast now for somebody else. So,
Okay.
okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.